Today we're going to talk about the VA loan. We're going to explain in detail what that process looks like so that you feel more comfortable and confident when you talk to an agent and or lender, primarily lender I guess for VA loan, but agents are important too. We'll talk about that. And we're going to dig through the nuts and bolts. Now, if you want a much deeper overview of like the VA loan specifically, like the actual product, go to the playlist. It's got there's a VA loan playlist with tons of information, but this one's going to be more like the process and kind of what to expect. But we'll get to that right after this intro. What's up guys, if you're new to the channel, I'm Dave, the Military Millionaire. Basically in 2018, I started this platform talking about and documenting my journey from the military to millionaire, whatever, financially free. And now I spend my time, I achieved the financial freedom, and now I spend my time helping service members, vets, and their families learn how to build wealth through real estate, entrepreneurship, personal finance, and really just achieve that financial freedom for themselves, because it's pretty sweet. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and I'm taking the day off to go floating with some friends because I can. And I've taken every Tuesday off this summer. So I don't say that to like rub anything in your face. It's just that freedom is really nice. And so you should probably work on your finances so that you can enjoy the rest of your life, because it's not too shabby. First and foremost, choosing a lender. Now, there are some perks and pros and cons to all different sorts of lenders. I'll talk through I'm not going to name anyone specifically except for the company that I recommend and work with a lot, but I will kind of talk through some different things. First and foremost, it's good to shop around at the pre-qual stage and kind of ask for terms and like a basic understanding for kind of where you're going to come in at for rate and pricing. Right now, pre-qual and pre-approval are totally different. Pre-qual is like the basic, here's my info, what do you think? And pre-approval is the actual like credit run thing. So don't do a million pre-approvals, but do some pre-quals, talk to some different people, kind of see what your options are. That'll help you out. Now, different lenders, this is important with the VA loan. The VA loan has very few real like hard no limit stop guideline things, right? It is pretty lenient. For example, no credit score requirement. But every bank is going to have their own credit score requirements. So some are as low as 500, others are going to be 580, 620, really depends on the lender. So I say that just to say, if a lender tells you no, you're not qualified, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not qualified per the VA loan. It means potentially that you're just not qualified per that lender's overlays or additional requirements. So you can ask them, is this a company overlay or a guideline? They may answer, or they may just try to steer you towards another product, or you can just go research the guideline, or heck, shoot me a message on Instagram and I'll point you in the right direction. But all right, so talking to a lender, big banks offer some perks, I suppose, because they're well known and they're trustable and yada yada, but ultimately they're slow. They often don't close on time. They have additional fees a lot of times, hidden fees. There's a lot of things that go into running a big bank, right? A big like corporation style bank versus like a mortgage broker or a smaller lender or whatever. Now, not all mortgage companies are created equal. So just because a mortgage company has a really good lender who understands the VA loan doesn't mean that the entire company does. Prime example, not going to name the company, but a company that a guy that I lived with for a year was a lender with, he was amazing, right? He was a veteran, is a veteran who took a ton of time to really research the VA loan, could do anything. That doesn't mean that every lender in that company is the same way, right? So kind of understand the differences. You need to find a person who is extremely knowledgeable and talented with the VA loan, more so than you need to find a company who offers the VA loan as a product, right? There are different products available, different companies, and you can search, like some companies will do the one-time build, or one-time, I forget the official term. Anyway, basically like one-time close. Anyway, basically like a purchase of land to build a home with the VA loan, zero down. That's a thing, but not all lenders do it. The VA renovation loan, where you can buy a house that needs to be fixed up and fix it up That's a thing as well, but not all lenders do it. So you need to shop around for what product you're looking for, different lenders, yada yada. Personally, I recommend and utilize a few different people depending on where you're at, and if you'd like, I'll leave a link down in the comments and in the main description of the video, pointing you to a spot on my website where you can fill out a little questionnaire about kind of what you're looking for as far as like location, purchase price, timeline, whatever, and I can introduce you to the lender that I personally love in that area, because it's going to vary, right? Like I said, different companies. So in California, I have a really good friend who's phenomenal. In Texas, my buddy Chris is an amazing lender who actually runs a team of that helps coach people through VA loans and becoming really qualified mortgage brokers. And then from there, depending on where you go, Chris has an entire network of really amazing people that I would gladly introduce you to in all of these various markets, right? And then that's, so happy to do that. Shop around, find yourself a lender, right? Get pre-qualified, talk to a couple different people to see what your options are, make sure you find someone who fits what you're looking for. Choosing an agent, I know this doesn't technically have anything to do with the VA loan, but this is, having an agent who understands the VA loan will be very, very helpful compared to the opposite. So there's this stigma that the VA loan seems to have in some markets where agents and lenders will be like, oh, it's not that great, or it's not the best loan, or whatever. Wrong. The VA loan is without a doubt the best primary residence mortgage product out there. And if someone's telling you that you can't get that loan approved, or you're not going to be able to get a house under contract or whatever, that's not a reflection on the product, that's a reflection of them as an agent and or lender, right? So I can tell you right now that my buddy Donnie, who was Rookie of the Year 2 years ago and top 3 realtor in San Diego County this year, has closed a crap load of VA home loan properties as an agent in San Diego, one of the hottest counties in the country, through the pandemic, one of the hottest times that San Diego's ever had. And he was closing them left and right. My buddy Tobin in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area has closed 15 or 20 for people in our community over the last 2 years. Also very hot area, very hot time period. Hawaii, Austin, Dallas, Seattle. We have closed, people that I know and have introduced have closed a ton of real estate with the VA loan in all these different areas, because they had an agent who knew what they were doing and understood the ins and outs, and was paired with a lender who also did. If you have the right professionals on your team, this is a cakewalk. If you don't, they're gonna try to talk you out of it. Red flag. So again, same with the lenders on the agent side. If you'd like that introduction, you click that link. That form has an option for whether you'd like an intro to an agent, a lender, both. Full disclosure, on the lender side, I get nothing because there's no way to do anything there. On the agent side, if you buy a house, I will get a small piece of that agent's commission. You will not pay me, they will, and it comes out of the seller's pocket. So it's a win-win, but just something I started doing once the platform grew so big that like every day I was sending 5 or 10 introductions, and finally one of my buddies was like, I could give you a small piece of my check as a thank you if you got licensed. So here we are. But nonetheless, they're phenomenal. We've closed, I don't know, $40 million, $50 million worth of VA loans in the last 2 years for people in the community. So pretty sweet deal. And again, you don't pay for it. I don't get anything unless you buy a house and it doesn't come out of your pocket. So anyway, all right, debt to income with any other loan, 50% is your cutoff on the primary side. On the VA loan, there's not actually a cap on the guideline. Again, this might be something where there's overlays, but your debt to income, I've seen mid 70s, high 70s for debt to income on duplex, triplex, fourplexes that were in expensive areas and being house hacked. So it's very possible, not necessarily recommended to go that high, but it's doable. You don't have to have money for a down payment. There are some, depending on how you look at it, some people are like, oh, if you put 5% down, you pay a smaller funding fee. I don't really think that works out. I don't really think that works out in your favor, because the funding fee is so minimal. You're talking $11 a month for every $100,000 you borrow. So if you borrow $100,000, I would rather pay the $11 a month than put $5,000 down, right? Because, do the math on how many months it's gonna take you to recoup the $5,000 down. Oh, and by the way, the $5,000 down will probably only take that $11 a month and move it to like $7 or $8 a month. So yeah, not worth it, in my opinion. Opportunity cost too big, invest the 5 or use it as a cash reserve. But overall, you're not gonna have to put any money down using the VA loan. That's one of the great perks because it allows you to get into a house more affordably. Kind of touched on the funding fee already. On your first use, it's 2.3% of the loan. On the second use, it's 3.6. That's added onto the note. So, and if you're 10% disabled or have a Purple Heart, it's completely waived, but that's added onto the loan, right? And it comes out, the 2.3% comes out to like $11 for every 100,000 borrowed, which is much cheaper than mortgage insurance premiums and private mortgage insurance, MIP, PMI for like the FHA or 5% down conventional loan or USDA. And it's also way better opportunity cost wise than putting 20% down on the property just to avoid the funding fee, right? Like, or use a conventional loan. Like, no way. VA loan blows it out of the water. The funding fee is not that big a deal. Don't get wrapped around it. I've got a ton of other content specifically about that, but I don't think it's something to really freak out about. The loan is still a better product than anything else on the market. Closing costs. You should budget 1 to 3% for closing costs. Now, with the VA loan, the seller can cover your closing costs. So let's say the house is $100,000 and you say, hey, I will give you I'll offer you $104,000. Will you give me $4,000 back for closing costs? If the seller says yes, and the house appraises for at least that 104, then you're good, right? That totally can work. It's not a guarantee though, so I always recommend that you budget the 1 to 3%, preferably 3% or 4% for closing costs, just to make sure that if anything comes up, you're covered, there's no surprises. You get like a week out from closing and realize you don't have the money to close on the house, right? Not where you want to be. Better to budget for it and then have the seller cover it than not. Especially in like a really hot market like we've seen the last year or two, a lot of sellers aren't covering that, right? But market shifts might become very common again. One other thing that's worth noting is the VA IRRRL. So what this allows is you to, without running credit again and financials again and requalifying for a refi, after 210 days, you can do what's called a VA IRRRL. That's a VA interest rate reduction refinance loan, which basically means that if your interest rate is low enough that it saves you money, then you can just refi into the VA IRRRL and bada bing, bada boom. Now, this is awesome because it doesn't matter if you live in the house anymore. It doesn't matter if you're qualified for the mortgage anymore. None of that matters. If the house is still owned by you and it's still under a VA loan and the rate is lower, like there's a metric there where it has to be like you have to have recouped the cost of refinancing within 3 years or something. Like there's a specific, like you're not allowed to do it unless it actually saves you a certain amount of money. And then as long as it saves you that certain amount of money, you can do the VA IRRRL. So it's sweet. So like in 2020, people who had bought a house in 2019 and the rates plummeted, got to use the VA IRRRL to refinance. I was helping friends refinance properties that they had moved out of. A buddy of mine, stationed in Japan, had a property in the DMV, like DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and it was a rental, and used the VA IRRRL, lowered his rate to like 2.5, 2.25, whatever, while living overseas, and just increased his cash flow on that property. So it's an awesome product, but what it also does, and a lot of times people don't think about this, is rates right now, this is July of 2022, are higher than they were in July of 2021, and people are kind of spooked about it. So there's 2 ways that you can go about this. You could just not buy and hope the rates come back down, and if they do, great, and if they don't, well, then you're screwed because you should have bought now. Well, that's all well and good, but with the VA loan, what you can do is you could buy today, and if rates go up, then who cares because you locked in that rate because you bought today. And if rates do go down, then you just use the VA IRRRL. So you make the payment for 210 days, refi into the lower rate, bada bing, bada boom, you're golden. So it's a great hedge in which you can only have your rate go down, it will not go up. So if you're on the fence about using the VA loan, I encourage you, go ahead and do it. If the rates do go down, use the VA IRRRL. If the rates do not go down, then you're better off having bought now than you are when rates go up another 1 or 2%, or 3, or 5, or 10, whatever, right? No one knows what the market's gonna do. So that's my thoughts on that. I mean, the basic process is simple. You talk to a lender, you get pre-qualified so that you can look at houses and whatever. Once you're getting close to writing an offer, you get the actual pre-approval done once you've picked out what lender you're going to use, and then you go through all the documents that they're going to need. There is a lot of red tape whenever you use primary residence mortgages like the VA loan. That's just the nature of the beast because it's federally backed by, like the government's guaranteeing 25% of your loan. It's not the lender, it's the underwriters and all this. So be a little patient because they're going to ask for something, then they're going to ask for something else, then they're going to ask for something else, and some of it's ridiculous and some of it's stupid. To put this in perspective, at the time, last July, I owned $3.5 million worth of real estate, 100 doors, cash flowed, financially free, whatever. My tax returns showed a loss because of depreciation and, it's just how the game is played. And not a loss per se, but just not a lot of income. I was leaving the military, so I wasn't going to be able to use my military income to qualify for the VA loan. So while I make more money than my spouse, I was dragging us down on the VA loan. I had to gift my wife 5% down to buy this house so that we could use a 5% down conventional loan with only her name on it so that my finances were not involved at all in order to qualify for the loan. So here I am with a bank that will lend me literally millions of dollars for real estate, telling me they can't lend me on this property because it's a VA loan. So that's how wonky sometimes primary residence is, and I wouldn't have been able to get approved for an FHA or a conventional or a USDA because of the exact same thing. So just know they're gonna ask you for some weird things, and it's, it is what it is, right? That's underwriting. You go through, talk to them, blah, 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 you show up with closing costs, you buy the house, right? That's pretty much it. Now what to look for in a lender and an agent. Somebody who understands the VA loan, is confident, and has proven that they can get you approved. But on the loan side, rate is not always king. Don't get me wrong, there are, again, you can do the VA IRRRL later, and you can do that with another company, right? It doesn't have to be the same company. So I would rather work for a really, really good lender who will stake a claim on closing quickly and efficiently and on time and doing the right thing and actually succeeding than banking solely on rate. So prime example, when my buddy was working with this company, now he's a 7-figure wholesaler and a flipper. But when he was working with this company, people would shop and they would get better rates and they would go, and then they would come back because of the service or the inability to close. We were saving loans from other companies left and right, including companies that specialize, quote unquote, in VA loans and are military real estate lenders and whatever that weren't able to get it done, and he was, right? And to point, I've seen him close a loan in 14 days, the VA loan. He was willing to guarantee a 17-day close or a 21-day close or whatever to get those loans done. Like, he would literally, I've seen him make a phone call and say, yeah, hey, this offer just got submitted, I'm doing the loan, I guarantee you we can close in 17 days, and if we don't close for any reason on my end as the lender, I'll pay you a per diem, which in San Diego is like $240 a day, every day until we close, right? And I don't think he ever paid the per diem. So get you a lender who's that confident and will over communicate and make sure you're taken care of. And then if the rate is, a quarter of a point higher, it's better than not getting the house. And you can just do the VA IRRRL down the road if rates are still low or lower, right? Like, it doesn't matter. A quarter of a point is peanuts on most loans. So yes, getting a low rate is good. I don't think it's the most important aspect. So anyway, this is kind of just things I wish I'd known about the process and choosing people. Happy to make some introductions for you if you want to click the link or shoot me a message on Instagram and I'll shoot it over to you. But happy to help. I mean, we've helped tons of members of the community. And if you're not already in the Facebook group, go check that out because there's a ton of good content in there. And it's moderated by several of my moderators are VA lenders and real estate agents who can answer your questions in detail without pitching you a bunch of bullshit. So have a great day. Thanks for watching. You've made it to the end of the video. If you got something valuable out of this, please consider smashing that like button, subscribing to the channel, and checking the little bell for notifications so that you get to see more valuable content. Depending on what you're interested in, we've got a ton of other playlists on real estate investing, military advice, getting rich in the military, VA loans, you name it. And make sure you get plugged in the community, in the Facebook group and other platforms. Also, if you haven't done so yet and you've still got a lot of questions, especially if you're a younger service member, check out the No BS Guide to Military Life. This is everything I wish I'd known when I first joined the military, and I wrote it to pass on so that other people don't have to say, God, I wish someone had told me that when I was younger. So hope you got something out of this. If you got ideas for other videos or questions, throw them in the comments. I definitely do reply to most everything that's in my comments, and I look forward to seeing you around the channel again. Have a great day.